We're here at Jerez in Spain, and this is Ducati's 2022 Panigale V4S. So for 2022, they've gone down a little bit more of a track-focused route. So this bike's been given a whole host of updates for 2022 that covers everything from the engine to the chassis to the ergonomics to even the aero. For starters, in the engine, it's got a new silencer and a new oil pump. It makes 1.5 horsepower more than before, so it pumps out a whopping 215 horsepower, 123 newton meters of torque, and it weighs in at just over 195 kilos, fully loaded. So they're pretty impressive figures. More importantly though, Ducati have really been to work on the gearbox. They've actually lengthened the first and second gears and brought them closer together so you can use first gear. They've also lengthened sixth gear as well, so the top speed is 5 kilometers higher than it was before. The chassis has seen some work too, so the swing arm pivot is now 4 millimeters higher. That's to basically combat the anti-squat, so when you get on the gas, just give it a better feeling on the gas. And they've given it some really Gucci spec Öhlins front forks. Now, these are pressurised for the first time, like you get on a proper trick race bike. They have the Öhlins EC latest and greatest electronic suspension, and they're also 5mm longer in the stroke. So it actually means that now they run softer springs to make the ride easier and to give a bit more feeling through that front end. As you can see, the fairings in the aero have had some work too. So these wings, although they're much smaller than before, they actually produce the exact same amount of downforce. They've been hard at work on really making the cooling more effective. So it's got a lot more gills, it's got some gills underneath to get the air in, and some nice little features as well. You can tell how much thought they've put into it. There's even a little cutout for the quick shifter and the quick shifter sensor, which is really nice just to keep it cool and to make sure it performs perfectly no matter how hot the day is. As you can imagine, it's then got all the electronics under the sun. It's got a 6-axis IMU, got all your rider aids that you'd expect, your TCs, your ABS, your slide control, traction control, launch control, wheelie control, everything. And it's got a new TFT dash that's been updated just to be a little bit easier. And also on track, it's got a new rider mode that gives it full unrestricted power when you're out of first gear, which is pretty mighty and a first for this bike. All in all, it's a lot of money at just under 26 grand. But if you put down a 25% deposit, PCP deals, you're looking at about £243 a month. And after being lucky enough to ride it today, I can say it is a lot of money, but it is a lot of bike. So even though we're in Spain, we brought the UK weather with us. So this morning was very wet, like proper wet. So we had it on wets. It was really nice actually because we got to try the wet power mode. Now, I've done a lot of miles on Panigales previously, and they're not the easiest, smoothest, most gentle things to ride. But in the wet power mode at 150 horsepower, it genuinely does not feel like a V4 Panigale. I've got my own V2 and it felt like that. It was so easy to ride, it was so smooth. The throttle connection was so gentle, I couldn't even get my head around it. And the way that the suspension's damped as well, it was so soft, you could get so much pitch and roll. It was just such an easy bike to ride. But when everything dried out and we got to unleash it properly, my God, it changed. The Panigale has always been a beast, and don't get me wrong, it's a bit easier to ride thanks to the ergonomic changes they've made to the seat and the tank. It's easier to hold on with, but it is still an absolute weapon. For starters, that front end is one of the best front ends I've ever felt. Those forks are just amazing. The amount of grip you get, you can take so many liberties. It's like you're on rails. Even when you go wide into a corner through the fast throwing stuff, if you're a little bit off line, you can literally just pull it back. You look at an apex and you end up there. It is honestly so confidence inspiring, and the same goes for the rear too. I never really found too much of a problem with it under squatting before, under power. It always felt like it had enough support for me, but it just hooks up. We were lucky enough to run on Pirelli slicks, so they're pretty good anyway, and the track was dry, and it literally just pulls. As the tyres started to get a bit degraded, the traction control was kicking in quite a lot, but honestly, you can just really lean on it. But the real treat came when we managed to put it in the highest power mode for the last session. The Panigale's been a beast. That is why I love it. It makes you feel like a MotoGP rider. It might not be the easiest bike to ride fast, but oh my God, like you get on it and it is just incredible. It's hard work, it's physical, and it's still that. It's still a Panigale at heart. It's slightly easier to ride than before. You can really dig yourself in, but because you can do that, you almost ride it harder than before, so you're going faster, and it's still hard work. There's no getting around it. This is a weapon, it's a beast. We even got to see Jorge Martin and Johan Zarco ride them today, and the way that them boys ride them is just out of this planet. They're so aggressive with it. It shows the bike's capability. That is where it's best suited, in the hands of those boys that know exactly what they're doing. But even at a regular track day pace that I was on, this bike makes you feel like a MotoGP rider. For track riding, this isn't the easiest bike to ride. It's probably not the quickest. You could probably go quicker on some of its competitors. But for me, this is the ultimate sports bike. It is an incredible machine that makes you feel special. You really have to work for it, but it's so worth it. Like, I've done a day on it now, I'm knackered, but I'm smiling and I couldn't have enjoyed it more. The previous generation was an incredible machine, but this is even better. Ducati, you've done a bloody good job.